Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today's video is starting outside because the meltdown has begun. The snow that I had placed on top of the trees here is almost all melted away. And we've had a really warm day the last couple of days. Everything's starting to melt, even the snow. With the warm weather here, I thought I'd better go down into the basement and check on the trees to make sure they weren't budding out. I looked on the larches and I noticed there was green on top of the little buds, showing that they're coming out of dormancy. So I've got to move the larch forest from the basement to the outdoor shelves now. Here I am in the basement. I first noticed the buds coming out on the larch tree a couple of days ago, and it's March break and the kids are home from school. And we've been doing all kinds of day trips. Yesterday I was fighting zombies in the virtual reality center. It was really fun, but so this is the first time I've had to come down and get the trees outside. So I doubt you can see the buds in this light, but yeah. All the other trees look good. That's a Douglas fir. And there's nothing showing on those buds. The pines look fine. The cedar trees, this one's getting a little greener in color. Here's the kind of rusty color of a dormant cedar, or Thuya occidentalis. Let's see what else is going on down here. The Austrian pine looks fine. The spruce, the little bird's nest spruce down here, it has definitely greened up. So it's kind of maybe coming out of dormancy a little. Here's the other larch I have down here. I can also see the buds getting very swollen on them. They're, yeah. If they're not showing green already, I can't tell in this light. I think they are just starting to show green on the tips now. So definitely time to get these trees back outside. Here's this larch here, and it definitely has green on it. So yeah, the larches will be the first two trees I get outside. The rest, like the maples and that, can stay inside. I noticed on the willows, I don't know if you can see that. Right here, you can see a bit of green showing on those buds. They're coming out. Willows always tend to come out a little early in spring, so that'll have to go outside too. Yeah, so I'll get those outside. I'll start with a big larch forest. It is supposed to rain today too, so by getting these out on the bench they'll get a good thorough watering. I've just got to be very careful on the ice outside. So here's the forest. I'll take it outside and then we can have a look at the buds in the good light. I was looking for my turntable all winter, you know, for use in videos so I can rotate the trees around while I'm working on them. And it was underneath a cedar tree down in the basement here. So I found it. So the next tree I'll get out is this larch back here. Okay, this is a little lighter. So there's the larch that I'm bringing out. We'll see that outside. So the willow, it's had its pot of water underneath the tree all winter. I don't know if it's used any. Maybe a little bit. It's a little low. That'll fill up with the rain today. So I'll get that outside too. I've got the trees outside now, so let's look at the larch first. Here's a look at some of the buds on the larch. You can see the green poking out of them. So that's a little too much green. I should have got them out, you know, a few days earlier, but yeah, I just didn't have time. So this will have to do. We'll see how they do. I found in previous years, if they're showing a little bit of green like that, and you do get some really hard, snowy days where it's really cold, it just kills off the tips of the needles, and the rest of the needles come out fine, so it doesn't kill the entire buds off. They should be all right. Here's a look at the larch forest now, and most of the trees have no activity at all. You can't see any green coming out on the branches. However, the one in the corner, this one right here, always comes into bud first. You can see the green on it all over. I hope you can see that. Right here. Yeah, and it must be genetics because all these trees are from the same area, but that one always comes out into leaf first. And in previous years, that's happened. And when I bring it out, I've had all those vigorous buds die off from the cold, because it's March right now, but we can still get some really nasty weather in March. So I've had that. I've had this tree come out early, get hit with some really nasty weather, some cold weather, and some of the buds have died off. And then new dormant buds emerge, and the tree greens up, and it becomes even more compact than some of the other trees. So in some cases, that can work to your advantage, having them bud out early. The cold kills off the vigorous buds, and then those, smaller, more compact dormant buds start coming out later on in, usually mid-spring to late spring. And then you end up with a really tight, compact tree. So yeah, you can get lucky and have breaking early dormancy sometimes works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't. So here's the willow tree now. And way up top here on the tips of some of the branches, it is also coming out into leaf. You can see the start of leaves coming out here. So that's not good. Those will probably die off in the cold, and I'll get new buds emerging down lower, which will be desirable also. I'm getting some, this is the Irish moss. You just pick that out. You can see it's coming out of dormancy too. So it's really easy to pick that stuff out when it's young like this. You can get out the roots and all, because it's very invasive and has a very thick root system on it. And it can create quite a mat of roots on top of your tree and make it really hard to water. So always try and get rid of that not Spanish moss, the Irish moss they call it. I can see there's a mouse digging in here. Sometimes they bury little seeds in here. I've had like sunflowers grow up in my bonsai trees because mice or something, squirrels or something, will bury seeds in your pots, and they'll forget about them and they'll sprout. Okay, so I've got those outside, those trees. They'll get a good watering because rain is definitely in the air. Yeah. We're supposed to get quite a heavy rain tonight. Looks like it's coming from this direction too. If the weather does turn really nasty in March, I can always bring the trees into the greenhouse here, and they'll be a little more protected than out on the bench. The trees that I did overwinter in the greenhouse, they look like they went through the winter really, really well. The buds are starting to swell on the elms here. The Thuya occidentalis looks really good. There's no dieback. It's nice and green. Yeah, so everything inside the greenhouse seemed to overwinter quite well. The hardy trees look like they're in good shape. So it's time to go indoors now and start today's work here in the bonsai zone. The spring thaw has also been giving me lots of rainwater, so I've been filling the barrel in the plant room. It was getting quite low over the winter. So now I think I have half a barrel full now. So when I empty this into the plant room, I should have a full barrel of rainwater. That'll get me through the last few months of winter. Here's a shot of the front garden. It looks like the trees did well this winter. I can see a few that were chewed on by rabbits over here. The boxwood got a little bit of winter burn on this side of the tree. The rest of it looks quite good. And some of the cuttings off it did quite well too. The one spruce doesn't look too good over there. I think that's dead. The other 2 or 3 here are doing all right. The maples that I cut back, they look okay. Yeah, they're doing all right, I think. It's the next day now, and we got our rain, so everything's well watered out here. I put all my trees from the greenhouse out on the bench, and they got just poured on last night. So the temperatures are mild again today, and I'm heading off to see the Bonsai Guy today to buy some pots. Here we are at Chris Hendry's, the Bonsai Guy's place, and this is greenhouse number 1. Everything's looking really green in here, and there's lots of flowers. Looks like they know spring is on the way. I'm going to show you a Schefflera down here and a ficus. That's really something. I'll show you that. So here's the root base of that Schefflera. This is a dwarf Schefflera. You can see the banyan style to it. Just amazing. Looks like I'm standing under a giant banyan tree. Really nice. Beside it over here is a really old ficus. You can see the size of it compared to my hand here. It's quite a giant tree. Yeah, just amazing. Behind it here is an acacia. I may have shown this in another video, but there it is there. You can see the loose, flaky bark on it. It's leafless right now, but they'll grow in spring. And this has got the really sharp little hook type thorns on it. Nasty tree to work on, but a beautiful tree to look at. Chris was telling us that this Sarissa here was his very first bonsai tree. He got it at age 9, and it's sort of an exposed root style. And it's really quite tall now. It's, I don't know if you can get an idea of the size of it, but an amazing tree. Just fantastic.
Stuffer. Oh boy. This is awesome. How anybody could decide.
What kind of tree is this, Chris?
This is an Asian elm.
Yeah.
It's a very old parviflora.
Wow, it's beautiful.
It has tiny, tiny little leaves compared to the size of our elms here.
Yeah, wow. Beautiful color trunk too.
Yeah, nice. Has a good movement to it.
Yeah.
Here's another parviflora elm from Asia. This one's very, very old.
It looks
You
old.
can see he's just barely hanging on to life there in the middle.
Wonderful.
This is not quince, it's Japanese camellia.
Camellia? Oh yeah. Wow.
The great thing about camellia is all the cousins have different colored flowers. So there's white, yellow, light pink, dark pink, purple, pretty much every color available. A nice old ligustrum privet, Asian privet. Has a nice twisted trunk. It's just a little bit too twisted for my like, but it definitely isn't mixed for a nice old specimen.
It's really cool.
This one's a very old Carmona, or Fukian tea. It gets small yellow and white flowers that look almost like little lilies, and then it gets little orange and red fruits on it. Tiny, they look like tiny little tomatoes, and each one has one little seed inside. But they're really prolific. If you took 10 little fruits and put them in Dixie cups, like 8 or 9 of them would actually sprout out for you. So they're nice. They make a good bonsai.
Yeah, it's really nice. How old would that tree be?
I'm not positive how old it is because I got it in China and brought it over. But I've had it for nearly 20 years now, and it was almost the size when I got it. So I'd guess it must be 35 or 40 years old at least.
Wow.
Because these trees want 4 seasons, just not Canada's 4 seasons.
Right.
So these are Japanese
No
white
one wants
pines.
Canada's 4 seasons.
I guess that's true. Nobody does.
Not even
Nobody
Canadians.
does. It's just so warm in July here, like plus 30 or more, and so cold in January, February, like minus 30 or even colder, that some trees just can't handle that kind of 4 seasonality. But these trees do want to see 4 seasons. So they're in this greenhouse because it keeps them nice and cool, but it doesn't see all the real low lows.
That's really cool.
And then try to get them to take, right? Try to get them all to germinate.
Yep, that's really nice.
They're black. They are surgical.
This is really cool too. I like that tree. That's nice.
That's a short pine. Nice cones on short pines too.
Yeah, that's really
Just
nice.
the size of a dime.
Yeah.
And good short needles.
Nice mature trunk on that too, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Here we are. Oh, this one's got lots of trees too. This must be another heated greenhouse. Is this the last one we're touring or?
It is.
Okay, good.
Here's your,
Oh, okay.
these are the Thai fringe.
Thai
With the
fringe.
pink flowers on them.
It's so nice in winter to see color. Wow. Very tiny leaves on it too.
Yeah, quite
That's really
small.
cool. That's amazing. Very similar, yeah. So this is an ebony tree. It's got the nice little leaves. And do they fold up at night, Chris?
Do.
Yeah. Very cool. That is a beautiful tree. That is one beautiful ebony tree. And is the wood black inside? Do you?
Very, very dark.
It's very dark. Wow. And beside it is a ficus, willow leaf ficus, and it's got pretty awesome roots on it. Can't complain about that. Yeah, the light
That's
blue.
a China pepper, or I think it's a xanthurium.
Right.
Yep. Unfortunately, he's the only mature one that I have of that kind too. All the other ones are like teeny little just rooted cuttings.
Oh.
They're supposed to be easy to root, but I am not having the easiest time with them.
It's very nice. Yeah, I like those little leaves. They look fantastic.
And the trunk's got some real character to it, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
I mainly came down here today to the Bonsai Guy to pick out pots. I wanted several pots. I made a list, and I've been picking out the ones that I think that I like and that are close to the right size. So let's go have a look at them now. The first pot on my list is for my Norfolk Island pine forest, and the one I was thinking was this one up here. So this pot here, it's got, you know, really nice details around the bottom of the pot. Nice looking feet on it. It's kind of got an antique finish to it. It's kind of blackened at the bottom. So I think that would look really good with the Norfolk Island pines. And it's not too shallow. It's fairly deep, so you know the roots can get established down there, and I think it would suit that forest really well. So I think that would be a good choice for the Norfolk Island pines. Next on my list was a pot for my Ficus religiosa. Right now it's in that fairly deep, poor quality glazed pot that has that sort of fake antique finish on it. And it's a little deep. I want, you know, a shallower pot so the roots spread out more and it just looks better, not so heavy underneath the tree. So I have several possibilities. One is this one's the right size, and it's not too shallow. I think that would look good, and the color isn't too bad either. The trunk on the Ficus religiosa is fairly light. It's a light tan color, so it might look quite good in that pot. The other possibility is up top here. I have a rectangular one, which I like, which is similar. It's about the same size, Has some nice detailing around it. So that's another possibility for the Ficus religiosa. For my bougainvillea, it's in a nice color pot and a nice size pot right now. However, the tree is growing like crazy, and someday it'll need a new pot. So I've got a couple of pots down here. One is this pot has a fairly simple sides on it, and it's quite nice. And then I have one here that is glazed. It's a Japanese pot. Very nice pot. It would look good in that. And I have this really nice Japanese tokonami pot, which I've never seen a pot so beautiful in all my life. If you look at the feet on it, they're all tapered. It's got, edging around the bottom of the pot, edging around the bottom on the side view here. And it's a really nice finish on it. Really thin wall too. Really, really nice pot. So that might be for that bougainvillea years and years in the future. Or I might find another tree for it that looks really good in this pot. I'm not sure. So I just really like that pot, so I have to buy it. Then on my list I have for my ficus, I'm thinking one of the ficus sisters. There's some pots here, some clay pots. Right now they're all in plastic pots, and I'd like to get them in something a little better. So maybe the ficus fancy could go in that pot. There's one down here that would do quite nicely. It's a lot larger, this one, but the tree will grow. There's one over here that has plain sides. There's one down here that has either Japanese or Chinese writing on the side of it. A nice size. Another one down here. There's a couple here. A nice lip on this one. Very smooth finish on the sides. There's a deeper one here if I wanted to go deeper. Very nice looking pot. Sort of rounded sides on it. Decorative strip and very simple feet. And I also want to get a pot for my jade forest. So there's the possibility of this one. It's quite shallow, maybe too shallow. It has sort of decorative feet here. So I'm going to have to decide. I think I'm going to need a slightly deeper one for the jades. I think they'll just tip over too easily if I use too shallow a pot. Yeah, so that's some of my choices. And they're difficult choices what to buy. I'm definitely going to buy the three at the bottom. I really like all those. So I'm going to think about it and decide. I went back inside and I picked out a pot I think would be good for the jade forest. And that's this one right here. It has decorative feet. I think that'll look pretty good. So here's the large pots I picked out. I picked out this one. Fairly plain looking pot, smooth sides, simple feet. Sort of a, not a real dark chocolate color, but milk chocolate, I guess you'd call it. And then the other one is this slightly deeper pot. And I'm thinking this would look good with my ficus fancy because it has a big root base. It would sit in this pot nicely. It's a little deeper. I could grow the tree a lot quicker, thickening it up. And I think it would suit this style. And the light tan will match the trunk color quite nicely, I think. So that's my two picks for my big pots. Well, it's raining outside, and you can see it's quite humid in the greenhouse here. The lens is fogging up. We're still here picking out trees and pots and dreaming.